My child, you ought to be so disposed as not to stop at things which you perceive by the senses, but so as to go forward even into my very heart. Attend then and consider how mortified is my heart. I knew well that I was not at all bound by the law of circumcision, that by complying I should be reckoned among sinners, lowered before men, that my body should undergo sufferings, and my soul disbasement. But my heart, moved by the divine will, enkindled by love, as with a living flame, overcame all this. Understand, my child, the inner sentiments of my heart, and be mindful of putting on the same. All things were well ordered in my heart. There is nothing inordinate in my whole humanity, yet I did never act from a mere inclination of my human nature. This I either overcame or passed by, and in all things, even those which were natural, I acted ever from a supernatural principle. Whether the thing to be done or undergone was pleasing or displeasing to the feelings of human nature, this was never the cause or reason why I did either embrace or shun them. I was always moved by the divine will to do and suffer with a willing heart all things that were according to the divine good pleasure. Behold, my child, the example which you must follow, if you desire to be a true disciple of my heart. If you look well into your heart, you shall find it divided, as it were, into two parts, each of which is anxious to sway it. One of these, essential prosperity, is called the inferior, the other a rational inclination, the superior part. The former is especially vitiated by original sin, the latter is still guided by a supernatural ray. With the first, the spirit of evil is wont to harmonize. The good spirit, on the other hand, espouses the cause of the second. The inferior part struggles to extend its sway over the whole heart and maintain it by means of pride and self-love. The leaders of all other vices, the superior part, through humility and charity, which presides over the whole host of virtues, desires with perfect justice to rule, to conquer and subdue, as its foe the part opposed. These two parts, my child, are the two domestic enemies that hardly ever cease to war against each other, whose aims are opposite, that can be put down and subjugated, but never destroyed or exterminated. The superior part, through the divine favour, by the reason of its will, possesses such strength that not only the inferior part, but the whole world and all hell united cannot force it to a surrender. Therefore the inferior part, together with the evil spirit, endeavours by every possible means to encompass, to disturb, to deceive, to worry the same. It tries every artifice, as at one time violence, at another caresses, now perverseness, then uprightness. Sometimes it shows itself an enemy, at others a friend. Unless you do carefully attend, you will hardly be able to distinguish between them. Yet it is necessary to know them distinctly, for on this discernment depends the right governing of the heart. By it illusions are avoided, vain fears are made to disappear, inward peace is preserved and retained even amid the greatest afflictions. The more one part is mortified and subdued, the more the other is made to live and triumph. The first thing, therefore, to be deadened in your heart is that inferior part, the inordinate craving of nature, which is also called selfishness, or the spirit of nature. Against this you must never cease to fight. If at any time this enemy, frightened by your bravery, be put to flight or forced to conceal himself until a more favourable opportunity presents itself, you must diligently seek him out, and when found strike him down with fresh ardour. You will know him by this mark, that he ever aims immoderately at what is either too high or too low, being ever carried off by an inordinate liking or dislike beyond the order which divine providence has established. On the one hand proud, and wandering beyond his sphere, and relying on his own powers, he would fain search and look into the unsearchable counsels of the deity, and although he does not fully comprehend anything of what is beneath him, yet he would measure by his own dullness and imbecility the wisdom, power, and other perfections of God, which in their very nature are incomprehensible. He struggles against admitting what he does not both see and love. He is ashamed and unwilling to own that he has erred. If it is proved, he grows stubborn. He seeks to be prominent. He shrinks from the thought of being surpassed or brought under in anything. He takes for granted that he can do everything. If he has brought something to a prosperous issue, he is wonderfully self-pleased, and boasts as if he had performed a miracle. Has he done anything unsuccessfully? He murmurs, excuses himself, or throws the blame upon others. He is not concerned about what he is in reality, but about what he may appear to be before others. He seeks to be esteemed. He is anxious that others should speak of him. He longs to possess the affections of men. He gains enough if he is praised. If no one praise him, he himself makes up the deficiency. In himself he either sees no fault or he disguises them. In his neighbour he descries them everywhere. He is prone to despise others, to suspect many things, and to twist them into evil. Hence, on the other hand, he is always inclined to what is low, what pleases the flesh, what flatters the senses, what savours of the world. He loves, he relishes, he judges matters according to his own propensity, not according to the reality of things themselves, and he has himself for an end. He seeks in everything his own convenience or pleasure. He even endeavours at times to adapt things divine to himself, for he undertakes occasionally to serve me, whilst he desires to gratify himself. Therefore he easily gives admittance to the angel of darkness, who, taking the shape of an angel of light, suggests to him many things apparently pious, beautifully thought, tenderly felt, all which increase his pride and keeps up his self-love. My child, if this spirit of nature triumphs over the heart, it affects the ruin of the heart. It benefits you, therefore, to deaden this part of the heart by resisting it, by countering it, and by unceasingly repressing the same as long as it remains vitiated or ill-ordered. Do not think this hard, my child. It is incomparably more easy and pleasant to subdue the same and govern it when subdued than to be ruled and tormented. But since natural reason cannot by itself attain to a supernatural end, you must likewise by mortification purify and alleviate the superior parts of the heart. For if you act from natural reason alone, you can then gather no merit for life everlasting, nor will you be called a disciple of my heart. You must then mortify the whole heart and subject it to grace, so that in all things it obeys the divine good pleasure. In thoughts, in word, in deeds, in suffering, you should be moved by divine grace, guided by a supernatural reason, directed to me as your end. Nowhere suffer yourself to be hurried into any act by the mere motion or impulse of nature, but follow grace, act according to my spirit, use the powers of nature, not as causes or principles, but as means or instruments for things supernatural. This mortification of the heart, which is the rule of the interior life and the spirit of the saints, is that more useful and necessary mortification, whereby the roots of vices are plucked up, the dangers of temptations avoided, the very causes of inward troubles removed. This holy mortification is to be practised, not with fretfulness, harshness, or anxiety, but with a tranquil and generous heart. Now, my child, in your heart there are things so great and numerous to be mortified, and they lie so hidden from you, that unless enlightened by grace, you could not so much as see them, and when you see them, unless strengthened by grace, you might be overpowered by the sight of them. Therefore you must have recourse to prayer without intermission, that you may obtain light and strength from above. Then will I, knowing that as yet you are unable to bear the knowledge of all the imperfections of your heart, so gently order things that you may know and overcome them by degrees, since I will proportion the grace of strength to the grace of light, and you, my child, must unremittingly be on your guard, lest you shut your eyes to this light sent from above, or neglect to cooperate with this heaven-given strength, for this might be the beginning of your downfall. Be faithful, allow yourself to be led by grace in all and to all, and you will experience such things as the saints have experienced, whereby you will doubtless come to my heart, and God shall be exalted, and you shall be made holy. The more perfectly, the more closely you shall become assimilated to my heart.